You wouldn't believe what they're doing now. The latest developments have everyone on edge, and it's no wonder why. Hold on to your toques, folks, because things just got real between Canada and the United States. The relationship between these two neighbors has always been complex, but now it's reaching a boiling point. Remember those pesky tariffs the US slapped on Canadian goods? Well, Canada isn't taking it lying down. In fact, they're gearing up for a counterattack that's bound to shake things up. They've decided to hit back with their own set of tariffs. And let me tell you, these ain't no love taps. The Canadian government is making it clear that they won't be pushed around. We're talking a whopping 25% tariff on a whole bunch of American products. This move is designed to send a strong message, and it's going to have some serious consequences. That means things are about to get a whole lot more expensive, and someone's going to have to foot the bill. Consumers on both sides of the border are already feeling the pinch, and it's only going to get worse. This isn't just some polite disagreement between neighbors. Oh no, this is a serious conflict with real-world implications for businesses and consumers alike. This is a full-blown trade war, and everyone's watching to see who blinks first. The stakes are high and the tension is palpable. Will this escalate into a full-blown economic showdown? Will anyone escape unscathed? The uncertainty is causing a lot of anxiety, and people are bracing for the worst. Buckle up, Buttercup, because things are about to get interesting. The ride ahead is going to be bumpy, and no one knows exactly where it will lead. This trade spat is making waves on both sides of the border, and the ripple effects are being felt far and wide. The global economy is interconnected, and what happens here will have far-reaching consequences. Businesses are sweating, consumers are bracing for impact, and economists are busy running the numbers, trying to predict the fallout. Everyone is on high alert, and the pressure is mounting. One thing's for sure, this is a big deal, and it's only going to get bigger. The world is watching, and the outcome of this trade war could reshape the economic landscape for years to come. Okay, so before we dive into the nitty-gritty of who's targeting what, let's rewind a bit. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture to understand the context of this escalating situation. How did we get to this point where Canada and the United States, two countries that usually get along like peanut butter and jelly, are suddenly at each other's throats over tariffs? It's a complex story that involves politics, economics, and a bit of national pride. Well, it all boils down to one thing. The US decided to impose tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports. Their reasoning? National security. This decision didn't come out of nowhere. It was part of a broader strategy to protect American industries from foreign competition. Apparently, Canada, our friendly neighbor to the north, poses some kind of existential threat to the United States. This claim might sound far-fetched, but it was based on the idea that dependence on foreign metals could weaken the US in times of conflict. Now you might be thinking, that's ridiculous. Canada wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone a bald eagle. And you'd be right. Canada has always been seen as a peaceful and cooperative partner. And you'd be right. But logic and reason don't always factor into these decisions. Sometimes, political and economic strategies are driven by other factors, such as the need to appear strong and decisive on the global stage. The US argued that cheap steel and aluminum imports, including those from Canada, were undermining American industry and threatening national security. They claimed that the influx of these materials was making it difficult for American producers to compete. Canada, however, criticized the move as unfair and protectionist, especially given the close economic ties between the two countries. Canadian officials argued that their steel and aluminum industries were not a threat, but rather a vital part of the North American supply chain. They argued that Canadian steel and aluminum actually support American jobs and industries. Many American companies rely on these imports to manufacture their products, and the tariffs were seen as a direct attack on this symbiotic relationship. This set off a chain reaction, with Canada retaliating by imposing its own tariffs on a range of US products. The list included everything from agricultural goods to consumer products, affecting a wide array of industries. Now, we're stuck in this tit-for-tat trade war, and nobody seems to know how to get out of it. The situation has created uncertainty and tension, not just between the two governments, but also among businesses and consumers who are caught in the crossfire. The hope is that cooler heads will eventually prevail, leading to a resolution that benefits both nations. Alright, let's get down to brass tacks. What exactly are these Canadian tariffs targeting? Well, they've cast a wide net, my friends. We're talking everything from American-made bourbon and ketchup to toilet paper and playing cards. Oh, and don't forget about those shiny new iPhones and laptops. Yep, those are getting hit too. The goal here is to inflict maximum pain on key American industries, particularly those concentrated in states that are politically important. It's a strategic move designed to pressure the US into backing down. And you know what? It just might work. Some of the hardest hit sectors include steel and aluminum. This one's a no-brainer, given that it was the initial trigger for this whole mess. Agriculture, sorry Wisconsin, but your cheese just got a lot more expensive for Canadians. And those Florida oranges, let's just say they're not as appealing anymore. Manufacturing, from cars and auto parts to machinery and appliances, American manufacturers are feeling the heat. Tech, those sleek gadgets we all know and love, yeah, they're about to get pricier. This is just a taste of what's to come. As the trade war drags on, the list of affected products is only going to grow longer. Section 4. Ouch, my wallet, the price we pay for trade wars. Now you might be thinking, this is all well and good, but how does it affect me? Oh, it affects you all right, my friend, it affects all of us. See, when tariffs are imposed, prices go up. It's basic economics, and who ends up paying those higher prices? That's right, you and me, the consumers. So that new TV you've been eyeing, get ready to shell out some extra cash. That morning cup of coffee, better start budgeting for a price hike. And don't even get me started on the cost of beer. But it's not just consumers who are feeling the pinch. Businesses are hurting too. Those higher import costs are eating into their profits, forcing them to raise prices, cut jobs, or even shut down altogether. And let's not forget about the uncertainty and disruption this trade war is causing. Businesses thrive on stability and predictability. This whole tariff thing, not exactly good for business. The bottom line is that trade wars are costly and everyone loses in the end.
Know you've been a good friend.
Section 5. Will they, won't they? The future of US-Canada trade relations. So what's next? Will this trade war escalate further, or will cooler heads prevail? The truth is, nobody knows for sure. It's entirely possible that the US and Canada will dig in their heels, leading to a protracted and damaging trade war. We could see even more tariffs, retaliatory measures, and a further breakdown in relations between the two countries. On the other hand, there's always a chance that both sides will come to their senses and realize that this trade war is hurting everyone. They could engage in constructive dialogue, find common ground, and work towards a mutually beneficial solution. After all, the US and Canada have a long history of cooperation and shared interests. It would be a shame to let this trade spat derail that. Ultimately, the future of US-Canada trade relations hinges on political will and a willingness to compromise. Let's hope both sides choose the path of diplomacy and cooperation for everyone's sake. Section 6. To tariff or not to tariff, that is the question. This is a dilemma that has perplexed economists, politicians, and business leaders alike for decades. So there you have it, the US-Canada trade war in a nutshell. A conflict that has seen tariffs imposed, retaliations made, and economic tensions rise to unprecedented levels. It's messy, it's complicated, and it has the potential to get a whole lot worse. The ripple effects of these trade tensions can be felt across various sectors, from agriculture to technology, affecting not just businesses but also consumers. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. There are alternatives to escalating tariffs and trade wars. Diplomacy and negotiation can pave the way for more stable and mutually beneficial trade relations. Trade wars are not inevitable, they are a choice that comes with significant consequences both economically and politically. The decision to impose tariffs is often driven by a desire to protect domestic industries, but it can also lead to unintended repercussions. And right now, both the US and Canada are facing a choice: double down on tariffs and escalate this conflict, or choose the path of dialogue and cooperation. The stakes are high, and the decisions made today will shape the economic landscape for years to come. Canada has shown that it's willing to stand up for its interests and fight back against what it sees as unfair trade practices. The country has implemented its own set of tariffs in response to US actions, signaling its readiness to defend its economic sovereignty. But is this the right approach? Is retaliation the best way to achieve long-term economic stability and growth? These are questions that policymakers and economists continue to grapple with. Should Canada stand firm and continue to retaliate with tariffs of its own? Or is there a more constructive way to address these trade disputes? The answers are not straightforward, and the implications are far-reaching. Or should both sides swallow their pride, come to the negotiating table and find a solution that benefits everyone? Negotiation and compromise could lead to a more sustainable and prosperous economic relationship between the two nations. It's a tough question, and there are no easy answers. The complexities of international trade require careful consideration and a willingness to find common ground. But one thing's for sure, the stakes are high, and the consequences of inaction could be severe. Prolonged trade wars can lead to economic downturns, job losses, and strained diplomatic relations. So let's hope that cooler heads prevail, and that both the US and Canada choose the path of cooperation and mutual benefit. By working together, both countries can achieve greater economic stability and growth. After all, we're neighbors, eh? Our shared history and close ties should encourage us to find solutions that benefit both sides. We should be working together, not against each other. Collaboration and mutual respect can lead to a brighter future for both nations, fostering a stronger and more resilient economic partnership.